Guys, what's worse than getting an eviction notice? Maybe getting a sack letter from the office. Now that would be bad. Or worse, getting a positive HIV result from the hospital. Now that would be crazy, right? But at least you get the point. Being told to leave your house by your landlord can mess you up big time. It's usually very shocking news. But you get some time to put yourself together and hope for the best, right? Or do you really have enough time? It is very important you know how much time you have left. And what do you do when you're served with an immediate eviction notice? What are your options? That's what we're here for. Let's talk about it on the pod. My name is Boomsha, and right now you're tuned in to the Proper Pill podcast. Now, let's get into it. Now, here's the thing. In Nigeria, the legal framework surrounding the eviction of tenants by landlords is largely governed by the tenancy laws of each state. But there are principles that cut across all these tenancy laws. So let's focus on the general principles and see how it applies even to your specific situation, okay? Now, there are two very vital questions you will need to ask yourself immediately you get that eviction notice from your landlord. Question 1, is there a tenancy agreement? This is so important. That document is going to decide your fate if there is one. Now, whatever notice period is stated in that document is what is binding on you. Even if you're a yearly tenant, if the tenancy agreement says you're only entitled to a week's notice or a month's notice or 3 months notice, that's it. Otilo is gone. But in the event that there is no tenancy agreement, then the general provisions of law apply. So in the event that there is no tenancy agreement, this is what you hold on to. This is your saving grace, right? Regardless of how urgent the situation is or how desperate your landlord is to get you out of the house, so long as there is no tenancy agreement stating otherwise, this is what you stick to. This is what you hold on to. This is what you're entitled to. A weekly tenant is a week notice. For a monthly tenant, it's a month notice. For a quarterly tenant, it's 3 months notice. And for a yearly tenant, it is 6 months notice. That's what the law says, and that's what you're entitled to. Now, having settled that, the next question you should ask yourself is, how do I proceed from here? What are my options? What alternatives do I have? Well, in the event that you find yourself in this uncomfortable situation, there are 3 courses of action to explore. Action number 1, try persuading your landlord to change his mind. In the event that he hasn't sold the house over your head, there's a possibility that if you're on chummy terms, he just might be persuaded to renew your tenancy, and so you get to stay on for another year or more years to come. That's a possible scenario, but that's being very optimistic, right? Your second option is to choose to stay on in the house even though your rent has expired and you've been issued notice. Now, if you choose to do so, just bear in mind that as soon as that notice expires, the landlord is entitled to go to court to seek to evict you from the premises, because you're no longer a legal tenant, but a tenant at sufferance, meaning a tenant at will, a tenant who is living on the graces of his landlord, and in due course, he will have you evicted from the premises. Also, you would have to pay rent for the period which you overstayed in the property. So that may not be the most safe option to explore. Option 3 is to start looking for another place, hoping that you find somewhere that meets your taste within the stipulated time, which is why finding out what that time is so important. And who says that you can't move from a rented apartment into your own building within the time stated? After all, life is not red or blue, it's purple.